Hello, my name's Keith Powell. On this channel, I want to be able to describe my artwork and tell the story behind the artwork and anything else that pertains to it, just so people have a better idea of how I get my artwork, how they come to me. Most of the time, I see them complete. They come to me and I actually feel like an observer rather than a creator. But this one in particular inspired a piece I call The Visitors. When it came to me, I was told that people that saw it hopefully wouldn't be afraid if the same type of thing happened to them. Well, this started with a journey a friend and I had back in 1970 in the winter. We were traveling from Spokane to Grand Coulee. It was late at night, and we saw in the distance what we thought was a small airplane circling. We watched it, and it was obviously circling a particular area in the distance, and we thought that it was actually waiting for us to get closer, that it was a small plane that had some type of emergency and wanted to land while we were there to help. And actually, as we got closer, we saw that it started to line itself up with the highway, so we pulled off in an area just past a farmhouse that was in between the highway and some railroad tracks, and got far enough off the road that we thought the wingtips of the plane wouldn't hit us. And as we watched it get closer, we noticed that it was actually not coming straight down the highway. We could see the light, and we could see the light projecting on the ground. We could see the landing light coming toward us, lighting up the ground as it came toward us. But we noticed that it was off to the left, coming parallel with the highway. And as we watched, it looked like maybe he wasn't going to land, like he was going to make a pass and maybe, size things up. But as he got closer, about 300 feet away, the light stopped. It was suspended there, probably 75 feet in the air. Well, put it this way, when I rolled the window down, I was really thinking I was going to hear the blades of a helicopter, but it was dead silent. Then, as we watched, the light, not the light, the position of the object the light was on didn't move, but the light started moving, the spotlight started moving toward us. It crossed the highway, lit the highway up, and then lit up the inside of the car, just as bright as you could ever imagine. When the light was completely engulfing the interior of the car, all of a sudden it started pulsing, and it got faster and faster and faster until at one point, for whatever reason, we thought it was funny. We were actually laughing. We could move our hands in front of our face, and it was strobing. We could count. I remember distinctly saying I could see 24 hands. So whatever the rate of strobe that was, it was very, very distinct. And then like a pulse light, and it was total darkness. My friend started the car. The heater was blowing cold air. The temperature gauge indicated the motor was completely cold. We both thought we had been stopped for less than 10 minutes. It didn't make sense. We got out of the car to see if we could spot the objects again. We noticed a white light off to the south, about a 75-degree angle in altitude. It was moving slowly to the west. Then it stopped. A red light dropped slightly below the original object and started slowly blinking. We decided that one of us would watch one light and one the other. My friend watched the red one. Shortly after we started following the two lights, we heard a jet heading our way. It was flying fast and low from the direction of Spokane. The original white light suddenly shot straight up and disappeared. Typical, where it looked like a laser being shot straight up. It was just instant. And the other red light accelerated and continued blinking. It looked just like a jet. Anyway, it flew off to the west and was gone by the time the jet was there. The jet circled our area and headed back to Spokane. Around 20 years later, I was driving back from Grand Coulee from Spokane, and I had an image for a piece of artwork come to me. I pulled over and started sketching. After a few minutes, I had completed 2 sketches. As I was getting ready to pull back on the highway, I realized I was within 200 yards of where my friend and I had seen the UFO, and the sketches were of ETs talking to a man sitting under a UFO. About a month later, I had finished the image. It was titled The Visitors. About the same time, one of my collectors called and asked if we could do a private art show at his home near Mount Spokane. A few days before the show, he called and said that there was a man, a retired U.S. Air Force officer, was very interested to talk to me about the piece I had just finished. At the time, I thought he was someone that was a friend of my collector, and I thought he would be interested in purchasing the piece. The officer showed up at the show. He asked me to describe the encounter that inspired the visitors. I told him the entire story. After I finished, he asked me if I felt like I might have not remembered the complete event. I told him that I'd always felt like as if my memory of the event that night had been suppressed. He said that often happens with close encounters, and that numerous witnesses feel this way. He told me that I had lost my memory because of the encounter itself, not because my memory was suppressed. He said while I was experiencing the encounter with the beings, that they were in a different time-space continuum, and my subconscious had more than likely retained the complete experience, but my conscious memory couldn't recover the memories without the passage of time. He said that more time passed, I could possibly recover more of my memories of the encounter. He told me that it might be helpful if I were to be hypnotized by a professional to help recover memories of the event. I found out later that the officer was not anyone my friend had known. He had come into his place of business and asked if he could meet me at the show. I have never seen the person again. I still don't know his name or even if he was really an Air Force officer. Not long after the art show, out of the blue, a person from Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, contacted me. It turned out that she was a friend of a person I knew in Grand Coulee. She offered to hypnotize me and find out if I could recover any more of my subconscious memories of the incident. The session was very disturbing. The details were very familiar to anyone who reads about close encounters. That kind of bothered me. My recovered memories included the beings coming up to the car. During the session, I told her that I did not want to look at them. She asked me to look again, and I refused again. Then she said to concentrate on the fact that it wasn't happening at this time. It was just a memory, and for me to imagine I was looking at a TV. I saw what was commonly referred to by other witnesses as the grays. I said that it was difficult to look at them because what I was seeing wouldn't fit into my sense of reality. The body proportions couldn't possibly be that of a real living being. The neck was too small. It looked like the head was far too big to be supported by such a tiny neck. The session was discomforting. I had a hard time believing that what I was saying. After the session, I felt like I was unintentionally manipulated into seeing what I remembered. To this day, I still feel uncomfortable about the session. At this time, At the time, she told me it was common response from people that had similar experiences. Like I said from the beginning, making the decision to put this online wasn't easy. I just hope it will help people not be afraid. I have been amazed by what I have remembered, but I have never felt threatened.